Welcome to another edition of Liberty Blue Table Sessions, where we are getting into understanding the story of retirement. And we know that it differs for everyone. And what we've really come down to understanding is that retirement is not about being old and grumpy and sitting on a rocking chair, but really having the resources that enable you to live the various stages of your life that you'd like to explore. And someone who knows all about that, who's really explored and built up a great wealth of knowledge and reputation for himself in the media industry, is Kojo Baffoe. Kojo, it's great to touch base with you on a very different platform this time around. And I must say, I don't think in any of our previous interactions, you and I have ever spoken about retirement. But here we are in 2021, where this has really become a conversation that's come to the fore and been an element of consideration for all South Africans to take note of. But I'm intrigued by the fact that growing up, you have a great amount of respect for your dad, who's really shaped the man that you've become. And I understand that he's never really retired. And that's probably what shaped your view around the world of retirement.
Absolutely. Thanks, Gugu. So my father left academia and went into business when I was about 11 years old. And literally from that point onwards, I mean, he was probably in his late 40s. From that point onwards, until he passed away at 81 years old, he always worked. And so when we were, I was involved in the family businesses, the whole idea was you build your businesses, you work to ensure that you have the resources available to kind of live out your years. But you're always going to be working. The difference is let's call it the pressure that you have, the pressure that you have from a financial perspective. So because of that, retirement has never been part of my thinking, like at all.
I don't blame you for that, because I also think we've worked in a very interesting sector, being in media, right? And you've also known to be a writer and will be publishing a book shortly. And these are not often conversations that take place in those kind of spaces. So then how would you say not only your dad, but the sector and the career that you've had has also shaped your thoughts around retirement?
Maybe think about it. I mean, generally we are independent contractors, right? So you're only as good as, I don't know whether it's your last job or your next job. Right? There's a very short lifespan to each one. So if it gets renewed, it's constantly getting renewed. But it becomes very difficult to plan from a, let's say, retirement annuity perspective. Like also when our industry, there tends to be the feeling that institutions don't understand us. And I actually want to drag Irvin in here and put him on the spot. But because institutions are not geared to understand the uniqueness of the, let's call it, the working conditions of people within the media, a lot of people then shy away from going out to find out about these things. And that's the purpose of this exercise, is to really go, listen, there is a space for us, because institutions are starting to look at it differently. So
I'm dragging you in the conversation here, so jump in.
Yeah. So yeah, that's fairly interesting. I mean, and your career, Kojo, maybe to a large degree yourself as well. I make the analogy similar to a football player. So a football player typically starts playing football at the age of 20. Then at the age of 35, he or she then retires, right? And post that retirement, what do they do? And it's retirement in a sense, but it's not really retirement because it's so young that they can't just sit and do nothing. So they obviously then become pundits, they become agents, they become coaches, or they get involved in some form of development. But that's post retirement for them. And similarly with you guys in your space, you never really get to retire. To be honest with you, you just get to a level where your money starts working for you outside of what you were doing when you were actually pursuing some or other form of occupation, right? So I think for us as an industry, obviously we need to evolve in terms of our product designs and getting the knowledge out there to people like yourselves who are adventurous in a sense, where we can push you and nudge you in a way to say, listen, you're never going to retire. We know that for a fact you're never going to retire, but you got to get in early. So you gotta put money away so that your kids, your wife, and whoever is dependent on you doesn't have to worry about themselves post you then saying, I don't want to do this anymore. I just want to chill. And so money has to work for you. So there are products and solutions available that we've obviously designed, and we can bring that into the market and obviously socialize people like yourselves on.
Yeah, because I think it's about separating I think it's taking that idea of retirement. So retirement was always attached to like a particular age, and then you go, okay, when I reach that age, I need X amount of money because I think I'm going to live for this period. And so, you know, where am I going to get that money? Who's going to give me that money, right? Whereas, I mean, for example, with myself, there's things that I want to do. You know, there's things that I want to do for the sheer joy of doing it, or because I've always thought I wanted to try something. There's the things that I do to, you know, keep the roof over the head and earn a living. And there is an overlap between the two. So, you know, if for example, I don't have to worry about money, then I go, okay, I can spend more time working on writing projects because I'm not worried about what the end of the month looks like.
And maybe, you know, Ivan, you can also share some suggestions with us for people who might be watching this and thinking, you know, how should I be approaching my retirement? Some of the key questions that they need to consider. But Kojo, let's start with you.
So I started at the point of what do I want my life to look like? So, I mean, I had a very high pressure job within the media. I edited a magazine and I just wasn't home and I wasn't present for my kids. And I started to do a lot of reading around this idea of lifestyle design, which is basically how do you design your lifestyle in such a way that it ticks all the boxes. And one of the boxes is quality of life and presence and being available to, for example, for me, being available for my family and being available.
Yeah. Dude, I didn't even know that you're like 1 year away from 50.
I just turned 49.
We should be calling you Papa Kojo. Papa Baffoe.
Yo, uncle. Yeah. So I think for me, retirement is you need to be in control of every aspect of your life post retirement. And then the second thing is your living expenses. Like you can't be writing a book on a deadline because you have to deliver this thing so that publishers make money, so that you can start making money. I mean, you don't want that. So your creativity doesn't have to have a timeline bound, right? So and that timeline is merely set because somebody has to make money. So if you've got enough money to live post retirement, your creativity can flow and you can write a book as long as you want to. You can take a year, you can take 2 years, it doesn't really matter, right? And your best creative work can then flow out. And the last thing is you don't necessarily want to be a burden to your kids and some of your other family members post retirement. That's the worst thing ever, because now you're putting pressure on other people and now they feel compelled to look after you. And that, for me, I think that's unfair, because you've had a long time to think about these things. You've got a long time to put things into place so that you don't have to be a burden to people. So I think if you can tick all of those three boxes, for me, then you're living the life that you possibly want to live post retirement. Because right now you're racing through this life thing so that you can have the next phase of your life, but you want to be as comfortable as possible, right? And the only way you can do that is if you have a plan. Now being an adventurer, because you don't really have a job, and you design your life and you craft your life the way that you want to, you need to think about things like your medical aid, how you're going to fund that. There's things like medical pre-funding that we make available, that can help people like yourselves to obviously take advantage of that, and then you're able to fund your medical aid post retirement. So things like that. And then the other thing that you need to worry about is obviously life insurance, so that your kids will never be left in the lurch post you leaving us. So I think for me, those are some of the things that you can do. But there's also things like your tax-free savings accounts. If you get in early, you take advantage of that. You don't pay tax on the returns, and you take advantage of compound growth, or compound interest growth rather. And over time, you can have a sizable amount of money that you can easily live by. The whole point of retirement is for you to outlive your money. That's it.
I like that. Outliving your money. And as Kojo also said, creating the life that you want, not based on time frames and deadlines and inactivity, but really just having the flexibility to do what you want, when you want, how you want, and having the resources there in place. Well, I certainly think you've given us a lot to think about. So thank you so much to you both, Irvin and Papa Baffoe. I think aside from the thoughts and different career paths that we're all on, it's definitely given us something different to think about around our unique stories around retirement.